Hello, beautiful people. Welcome. If this is your first time here, welcome back. If you are a returning supporter, I'm here to give you the disclaimers for this here live. Listen, I do not tolerate disrespect. That's in any way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it's towards me, towards anyone that appears on the screen, towards anyone that appears in the chat. If you have not decided to be a better person, most people will tell you to leave, but I'm going to tell you to stick around because maybe something that is said today will encourage you to do so. Now, I am not a mental health professional. I am just one woman willing to share my personal experiences to let you know two things. One, you are not alone, regardless of how much you feel like you are alone, how many times you have felt that, you are not alone. And number two, you can overcome anything that life throws at you. There will be curse words, there will possibly be tears, but knowing me, it probably will be. And my opinions are my opinions. Your opinions are your opinions. We are here to have a nurturing conversations in regards to our opinions so that we will have a better understanding of each other. That's all I got for right now. I hope that you enjoy this nurturing conversation. Let's get to it. Wait, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button that helps me say suggested on YouTube. Make sure that you type in the chat, also leave a comment, and share it with your friends. That's all I got. Let's get into this conversation. I love you. Peace. My God, it is not you. My mic is actually muted, and I was just over here having a full conversation. Thank you so very much, Joshua. Um, hi, my name is my name is Shell, also known as Shell. Thank you for letting me know. I do that often. I be trying to remember to unmute the mic. My name is Shell, also known as Midwsthumnbrd. Thank you for tuning in to the Nurturing Conversations podcast. Tonight, we are going to talk about checking your foundation. What is your foundation? It is your upbringing, the environment you grew up in, it is the things that you were taught, the things that you learned. For me, at this present state in my life, it was important. It has been important. It will continue to be important for me to check my foundation. Um, I grew up in a family where they like to talk. They talk about everything. They will ask you questions. They wanted to know how your day was. They wanted to know if you had eaten. They wanted to know how you were feeling, like not just to make meaningless conversation, but they really wanted to know. So for me, as an adult out in the real world, and people don't really care, I'm not going to say that they don't really care. I'm going to say people are too busy living their lives to actually take time to care about another person, unless in the event that the person unalives themselves, and then we have concern, then we have compassion, then we have empathy, and it's check on your strong friends, check on your weak friends, and then a couple of weeks go past and it's like back to the regular thing. For me, I'm the type of person, I like to check on people. When I say check on foundation, I just don't mean emotions, I just don't mean family, I mean the people around you that has helped you get to the point where you are now. I just so happens to have an amazing foundation. An amazing foundation. I The last 3 years of my life, I decided to go on a journey of healing and self discovery. And for me, it's ridding myself of everything that I've been carrying around. Like sometimes when things happen to us, we just throw it in the back of our mind and say, oh, I'll deal with it later. Or, it's just in the back of our mind. And then we experiencing life based on the things that are hidden in the back of our mind. Like we don't pay attention to it, or not in the forefront, so we're not really paying attention to it. And then like somebody cheated you or treated you wrong or did something bad to you or lied to you or promised you something and they didn't give it to you, so you throw it in the back of your head. And now every moment from that moment, you are going to have mistrust for people. You're not going to believe people. You are not going to put yourself in a situation where you could be hurt again. Well, on this journey of healing and self discovery these last 3 years, I've learned so much about myself. I realized, number one, that I spent so much of my time working to help other people and working to help other people be okay with me, be okay with themselves. I spent all of my time with everybody else. And so the last 3 years, life was like, hey, ma'am, we need you to focus on you. And I was like, yeah, I get around to it when I, get around to it, because I got to make sure I got to make sure this, I got to make sure. It's like, it was my job. That wasn't my job, but I had to make sure because, that was me, the handler. And life was like, no, we need you to focus on you. And when I'm going to tell you this, right? If you hear right now, if your life is telling you, your life, your body, your mind, telling you to rest, if it's telling you to take it easy, if it's telling you to leave them people alone, if it's telling you to leave that job, whatever it is telling you to do, trust it, because it knows what is best for you. And I'm saying that as a person who has had a nervous breakdown, as a person who has had a stroke. Trust it. We got to start paying attention to our body. Sometimes because of our upbringings, we put everybody's feelings, emotions, opinions, lives, everything before ourselves. I say that because for me, I'm the oldest and I'm the only girl. So I kind of like, being the oldest, you kind of get roped into being, that parental figure. So I kind of got roped into things, and that has just been my life, taking care of people, making sure everybody was good. And so 2020, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. Those old feelings started to come up of like rejection and abandonment, and I couldn't suppress them anymore because my body and my mind was like, it's time. It's time to let it go. You want to be over here flying with the eagles, but you can't because you are weighted. The only way you can fly is to let it go. And I'm sitting over here like, I'll let it go one day when the timing, you ever said when the timing is right? But how about this, right? What if whenever you do it is the right time? I've been talking to some of my friends or like my foundation. And I was like, you know what? I totally appreciate and respect you guys. So very much so. So very much so. Like I had become so used to doing for everybody else that I wasn't able to even receive. I on this journey of healing and self discovery, I connected the reason why I am unable, or I was, there we go, I connected the reason why I was unable to receive a compliment. I've done some really amazing things in my life. And whenever somebody would start talking about it, I would have this feeling of anxiety. I would be filled with, like, oh my God, what is going to happen next? And I was able to connect that very feeling to something that happened to me when I was young, like 8, 9, 10 young. And it was only after I sat down and was like, you know what? I'm not about to carry this in the 40. Now it's been 3 years, but I was like, I'm not about to carry this in the 40. If I spend my entire life pleasing other people, making sure everybody else is good except for me, putting myself last, I, I, I'm done with that. I'm done being the the punching bag for people. Like I remember people would used to say I did things or like throw my name and stuff, and I wouldn't say nothing because it's like, why would I, when people used to say when you get mad, that's telling. I was like, I don't even understand why it's a big deal. I don't even understand why I am involved. But now it's like, you know what? People become accustomed to doing things. If you always a punching bag for people, they will continue to punch you until you turn around and punch them back. I'm saying in 2023, we have survived a global fucking pandemic. The disclaimer said that there were going to be cuss words, and hey, that's what it is. You have survived it. Now, you might not be wealthy like you wanted to be. You thought you was going to be in 2020, 2021, 2022. You might not be that. Or maybe you are. Or maybe you're not married. Maybe you're not in a situation. Maybe you don't got that job. But I'm saying to you is you are here 3 years after we couldn't go to work. We had time. There was hard times finding toilet tissue, water. We couldn't go to funerals. We couldn't go to birthday parties. Like for 3 years, kids couldn't graduate high school. They couldn't walk across the stage. For 3 years of our lives, we didn't know. We still in it. We didn't know what was going to happen. So I said to myself, I'm ridding myself of everything because these next ain't no way. Ain't no way I'm going to survive all of the things that I survived in the last 3 years and be around here sitting like this. Oh, I'm gonna write that book one day. I'm gonna start my YouTube channel one day. I'm gonna start a podcast one day. But I gotta get the right mics. I gotta get the lights. I gotta get all of these different things. I'm gonna do all of that. It's a no. What if that one day? What if the right time? What if it's right now? What if right now you're supposed to start the YouTube? And I'm saying this because maybe you have an idea, right? Maybe you have something where you're just like, I wonder if somebody else feel like this. And you start a YouTube and you start talking about it, right? I'm gonna tell you, I started doing workouts because I would see people working out. You see the buff guys and you see the girls that got the 6-pack and a little sports bra and I was like, wait, I know people like me who work out. So let me work out. And I want to like encourage people, other people, like I know I'm not the only plus size lady that's working out, but I want to encourage other people to work out. I want to encourage other people to be body positive, to love the body that they are in. That's what I want to do. So I started working out. And when I started working out, it became more so not about people. Like I wanted to help people, but I found peace and I found love and I found all these different things from me just doing it. I said, you know, I was one of those people who's like, yeah, I'm gonna start a podcast. I'm gonna start the podcast. I had the whole name for it. I had the outline, what I was gonna talk about, who I was gonna interview. I had all of it. You probably like got a whole book outline, everything ready to go. And you're just like, well, I need the money or I need this. I'm gonna tell you this just like this, right? There is, especially now in the world we live in, there is so many different resources and things that you could use, like Chat GPT, Mid Journey. I forgot the Google one, but there's so many different things that you could use right now to help you. Um, it takes a lot of the pressure off of you. There's so many things that you can use. And I'm saying that because sometimes we have access to different things, but we don't use them because of the things that, like, our upbringing. We were taught not to trust certain things. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, AI, AI. And I'm over here like, yeah, AI. But at the same time, I want to know what it's about. I want to know how it's going to operate, what you do, how to monetize. I need to know everything there is about it, because I don't want to be 3 years down the line. I'm sitting over here like, yeah, that was a really good thing, and now I'm trying to be a part of it, and it's already 3, 4, or 5 years ahead of time, because I got in late. I don't want to get in late. I want to be right there. As soon as it drop, I want to be there. For me, I said I'm throwing fear, caution, everything. Think about this, right? How many times in your life have you been angry, happy, sad, cried, fearful, filled with anxiety, depressed? Like, we've experienced these throughout our lives, right? So here's the conversation I have with myself. Again, a lot of these conversations things that I talk about, start with conversations I have with myself. Yes, I do talk to myself, especially when I be looking at this camera and ain't nobody right here. But anyways, so I said to myself, I said, you have so many hopes, dreams, goals, and aspirations. And I looked at it, and I have a vision board. I now have a vision book. Like, I have, vision is my middle name. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, how do I get to those things? And the first thing it said, you have to let go of the fear. And I was like, I'm not afraid of that. And then an opportunity presented itself, and I was filled, like, I knew. I was telling everybody that I can do it. I told everybody that if somebody came to me and was like, hey, I want you to mix, master, engineer, vocal producer, whatever, a track or whatever, or an album, I was telling everybody that I could do it, right? Somebody called me and was like, hey, here's this opportunity. And I was just like, and in that moment, there were so many things my mind said, you can't do that. You don't got the right equipment. You haven't done that in a long time. Don't have the right equipment. You're not even sure if you're able to. It was going, it was going so fast. And then I just had to go. And I told them, yes, I will do it. I was so scared because I had never, even when I scored the documentary, I was so afraid. I knew that I could do it. Number one, I knew that I could do it. I just needed the opportunity to do it. And then when I got presented with the opportunity, I just had to tell myself to shh, because we know what we doing. We know what we doing. A lot of times we make some really rash decisions, and then when we get, further down the road, we're able to look back and think like, man, if I had the opportunity to do it over. But what we don't realize, or some cases people do realize, is every day is a new opportunity to be greater. Greater than you was 2 seconds ago, 5 seconds, 10, 15, 20, 48 hours. It's an opportunity to be greater. So I said to myself, as I'm on this journey of healing and self-discovery, my foundation taught me how to speak up for myself. That's what my foundation taught me, to talk about everything. If you if you do not understand something, ask a question. If you do not agree with something, respectfully express your opinions. I was taught this from a wee child. I'm a wee child. But as I was growing up, so many things happened to me in my life, and I began to forego the things that I was taught, and I was only working with survival, being safe. Safety was my main concern. I didn't care nothing about anything else. I just wanted to feel safe. I just wanted to feel safe in any environment I was in. I just wanted to feel important. I wanted to feel important. And when I think about wanting to feel important, that's how when I started the journey of healing self discovery, I sat down and I was like, okay, I wasn't like, here, let me put everything out from my past all at one time. I was like, let me just meditate. And as I was meditating, things just started coming up and I just started to deal with them one at a time. And sometimes they were connected, so I was able to deal with them together or, intertwine them. But I began to deal with the first thing that came up was me feeling abandoned and rejected from my parents. And so then I just did they call it the 5 whys. I just asked myself why 5 times. Why did I feel abandoned by my parents? And then I went deeper than that. And by the time I got to the last why, I cried. I'm not even going to say cried. I'm going to say I wailed. If you don't know what wailing is, it's that ugly cry where you got snot and it's everything. It's like you releasing everything that was ever there. I wailed a while. And after I wailed, I went and I had a conversation with my parents. And I told them how I felt. And I told them what I thought or how I anticipated them raising me. I told them how I wanted to be raised or how I felt I should have been raised. And then I apologized. In the conversation with my parents, my father told me that he had lost a daughter before me and no one had taught him about grief. And then I had talked to my mom and understanding her situation with my grandmother and how, things were. And I was looking at it like I was expecting these two people who hadn't been taught or listened to or instructed on how to deal with grief or the things that they were going to help me. And they didn't even know how to deal with it. And that's not to give my parents a pass, but that's just to say that they are humans also. They only taught me what they knew. They only shared with me. They only educated me on the things that they knew. And my mom, me and my mom has relationship has really grown since talking to her and letting her know how I feel. And I asked her, like, why didn't you send me to the local schools? Like, everybody in the neighborhood go to the same school. And then I was going to church and everybody was going to the same school. I was like, no, I want to go, over here with them. I want to go to school. And my mother was like, no, you're going to get up at 6:15 in the morning to be on that bus stop. And you're going to go out there to the white schools, chapter 220, predominantly white. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be politically correct because, hey, it is what it is. But I'm not going to be racist or rude or any of those things. But so I would get up in the morning and I would have to be on a bus stop at 6:15 and go out to Franklin Public Schools. And I would ask my mom all the time, like, I just want to go. I just want to go. I wasn't even thinking about the experiences until my sophomore year. And I thought, I'm over here building cars, cabinetries. I'm flying planes. I'm doing all these different things. And then I'm coming back to my neighborhood and it's just like, what y'all do today at school? Or I saw, like, I was in a 10th grade and I had the same books as the 12th graders in my city. And I was just like, oh my God, I need to take advantage of this opportunity. And when you're younger, you don't know. You just like, oh, I can't wait till I get grown. And so I began to take advantage of the opportunities that were allotted to me. And then when I got older on this journey of healing and self-discovery, I said, my mother set me up for the greatest greatest opportunity. It's crazy because when you're younger, you can't see. And I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, your parents probably told you can't see it right now, but I'm gonna tell you, like, your mother or your father ever told you that person wasn't your friend, and you was like, that's my bro, that's my sis. They rocking with me or whatever, and then something happened. And you found out that they really wasn't your friends. Like, I ain't even gonna jack. Sometimes we don't be wanting our parents to be right, but a lot of times they do be right. They be right. And sometimes it just be us and be that foundation, be that ego that we got to check sometimes. And that's why I'm saying when with the foundation, it's like when you grow up in environments where like survival is like the main focus, surviving. You don't know what you're gonna eat, you don't know where you're gonna sleep, you don't know if you're gonna have clean clothes, like surviving. I said to my mom, I didn't know what it was like to starve. And that's not to be like, oh, look at me. But I didn't know what it was like to starve until I went to college. Cup of noodles became my best friend, you know, because you're an adult now. You out your mama house. I'm in college. I'm, you know, taking courses. I'm working. I'm doing all of this. And I'm eating a cup of noodles. And I was thinking about, oh, at my mama's house or my granny house, it was like Sundays dinners. And now you trying to go home and be like, hey, how you doing? And they already know you coming either to wash or you coming to eat. But it was then that I realized, like, you know what? I got to put my big girl panties on and I got to start doing for me. I can't expect my mother or my grandmother, or I can't expect for people to be there for me. I got to start taking care of myself. And then it was like, after a while, you know, you be eating cup of noodles because you don't got nothing else. But after a while, you become accustomed to cup of noodles. You get some money in your pocket and you remember what it was like when you didn't have. So now cup of noodles is like your favorite thing. Well, cup of noodles still to this day is my favorite thing. And I got a little money. But cup of noodles is my favorite thing because it was a food. It was that I'm an adult now food. That's what I'm going to call it. It was that I'm an adult now food. But then I started to check, like, I know people who don't come from that. I know people who had to go to food pantries. I was talking to my mom, like, how were you able to raise 4 kids by yourself? Like, yeah, my mom worked like all the time. It was either work or church, but she still was able to like provide us with everything we needed. And not only did she provide for us, listen, when I tell y'all, not only did my mom provide for us, she literally, like, I don't know what it was about my brothers, but they would go to school and see somebody that was in dire need or didn't have, and they would bring them to my house, not my house, but my mom's house, and she would take care of them just like they were one of us. And so, like, now it's like I have a lot of people who call me their sisters, because they grew up in our household. And so I was just thinking about when I started to date, like, my mom never brought guys around. It's so many different things. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, check your foundation. Like, go back and look at your upbringing. Go back and look at the experiences you have in life, because whether you believe it or not, a lot of the things you experienced when you were younger has shaped and molded who you are as an adult. Maybe you come from a family where you saw your mother and father be verbally abusive to each other. And now as you go through life, you are either verbally abusive or you take on verbal abuse. Maybe you come from a family that did not listen to you or ask you how you were feeling, or like always made you feel bad about being emotional. And now you're an adult. Um, and now you're an adult and you don't know how to express yourself. Some people only know how to express themselves with violence because that's all they saw. And I'm not making an excuse for anybody, but what I'm saying is if we check our foundations, when I was growing up, before I would date anybody, I'm gonna tell you, ooh, I'm the only girl for a long time. And so I was surrounded by uncles and cousins, and they call themselves like schooling me on how to date, right? So they would tell me, you got to check the family tree, you got to check the siblings, you got to check, like, they would literally say all of these things. And it didn't, at the time, it was like, well, I need to know all that for. I'm just, kicking it out here. We just going to the movies, skating, bowling. That was movie, skating, bowling, shopping, depending on, I don't need to check all of that. And then, you get to a certain point in your life and you like, oh, it makes so much sense why they say that. Because you probably think like, yeah, this person is such a sweetheart. They so cool. We go hang out. It'd be cool. And then you start to get deeper past the surface level, because a lot of people, I feel like we all do it. We give you what we want you to have. We show you what we want you to see. And when you start to get to know people, it's just like, oh my God, I did not know that you were like this. And that's part of checking the foundation too, because sometimes people can put on a mask. I know we was wearing masks for, COVID, but people can wear those masks and be hiding some, like people be like, oh, tell the guy to take his hat off because he probably gonna, yeah, it's like that, because people be out here like that. And even like now, I was telling someone, I was like, I thought it was crazy when I was growing up, the like stuff that people would do, like the whole Robert Kelly situation. That is like so crazy to me. But now, with the internet and everybody having a phone, and there's so many different things that people are able to do, if you aren't taking the time to love, appreciate, spend time, talk to, especially if you are a parent, talk to your kids, talk to your nieces and nephews, talking to the people around you, like this is important now. I was just saying, like, I titled this podcast the Nurturing Conversations podcast because I feel like we don't talk as much. Now we either tweet or we 140 characters, like that's the most we get. Like we say what we need to say subliminally, or we just don't talk to each other. And so a lot of things become misconstrued, and then people are hating people or people are not talking to people. And then it's like, come on, we are in a global pandemic. At anytime they could say, hey, we got to shut the government down again. And then what are we going to do? Be at home wishing we could call our mother and go to backyard barbecues or birthday parties. Like I real life looked at 2020 and I was like, there is no way I am coming out of this year without at least 7 streams of income. 7. If I don't have 7, I'm going to have 7 on paper, different ways that I can make income. And I'm going to strive for each one of those. I'm going to try to make it happen because there is no way I survived. Like, there's no way that you survived any situation in your life and you're just going to continue to go back to that situation, or, excuse me, you're not going to be greater than that situation. I'm saying there is no way, but we see it all the time where people just become comfortable. I don't want you to be comfortable. I want you to be so filled with hopes, dreams, goals, and aspirations that you take it upon yourself to say, you know what? No one else in my family graduated from college, but I have younger nieces and nephews or cousins coming behind me. I'm going to go to college. Even if college isn't your thing, maybe you're an entrepreneur. Maybe you say, you know what? I'm going to set up this business. I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to set it up, get my LLC, my S Corps holding, whatever it is you're going to do, you're going to set it up properly. So when your younger siblings, nieces, nephews, cousins, auntie, uncle, whoever it is, come and be like, hey, I want to start a business, you'll be able to share that knowledge. You'll be able to pass that on. In the morning, me and my mother is going to a generational wealth seminar, and I was thinking, like, I do music, right? Like I sing, I write, produce. I also am really knowledgeable when it comes to the business of music. And so I was like, how is it that I have all this knowledge and I have experience? I've toured, I've been ripped off. I have a lot of experiences in life. And how be it that I don't share those experiences with others? How be it that I don't let you know the pitfalls, or I don't let you know the positives and the negatives of the things that you're trying to do? Like, that's the thing where I appreciate the older generation for, because they were willing to tell me things. Like, my uncle, I used to call them lectures when he would talk, but he would be so on point with the things that he was saying, but it was just like, it took an hour and 20 minutes to get there. But I got what he was trying to do, what he was saying. I got all of it, but I was like, oh, I got that in the first 20 minutes you said it. But I understand now as an adult what he was saying, the discipline that he was teaching me, because what I realized on this journey of healing and self-discovery. I lacked discipline. Lacked it. Didn't have it at all. I'm not even going to say I did not have discipline at all. That was whether from food to shopping to relationships, situationships. I lacked discipline. Lacked it. Didn't have it at all. And as I began to journey, I said, you know what? I couldn't. You ever say, okay, I'm gonna work out. You know, at the beginning of the year, everybody's like, yeah, I'm gonna go on this diet. I'm gonna be working out all the time. I'm gonna whatever you gonna do to get that body, get that. You're gonna be snatched. You're gonna have the muscles, whatever it is. We all say that, right? And then you like drink juice for one day, or you work out for one day, and then the next day you be too busy. Then the day after that, you happen to get a little one. Then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna start next month. We always put it off to the next month. Or I'm gonna start it tomorrow. I'm gonna start it next week, and then before you know it, it is July, and you ain't did an exercise, drunk a juice, ain't did nothing in 6 months. And I was like, no, I gotta get serious. I realized that I lacked discipline, and then what did I do? I went back and looked at the very moment where I lacked it, and I said, sometimes being the oldest and the only child comes with a lot of privileges, but at the same time, those privileges can become, like those, it's blessings. There's blessings. Those blessings can also become curses. Because I realized like nobody would like tell me no or say I couldn't do anything. And for me, it was just like so weird because I see other people and everything, no. But for me, it was like, sure. You want to go to Vegas by yourself and you never flew in a plane? Sure, go. Oh, you're going to spend all of your. Sure, go and do it. Oh, you want to buy 3 Dooney and purses and you don't even wear purses like that, but you think they're cute? Go ahead and do it. Like, nobody was like, no, don't do it. And I know you probably like, since it's not common, but I'm not going to say I didn't have common sense. I'm going to say I didn't have discipline. And then there's another thing that I learned that I do, right? I learned that retail therapy was how I coped with things. If I was having a bad day or situations were like beyond my control, I would go shopping, and that would like literally put me in such a peaceful state. And I'm one of those shoppers, like I wasn't even caring how much it was. It felt good to buy it. And then you go to therapy and they're like, hey, that's a coping mechanism. And I was like, nuh-uh, because what I read, I'm not a therapist. I said that in this. I'm not a therapist. I'm just somebody who read a lot and just is like, I don't use food to cope. And I thought like how I knew I was stressed out. This is how I'm gonna tell you how I knew. I would always drink a wild cherry Pepsi, get some peanut M&Ms, and 2 packs of Frito-Lay sunflower seeds. And as I'm cracking and crunching, and the sizzle of the salt in the Pepsi, it was like my mind literally just calmed down. I don't know what it was about it. And I'm telling my therapist, and she was like, yep, coping mechanism. And I was like, if you tell me one more thing, but you know what it did? It helped me realize that I had formed habits to help me. I had formed things. I had started doing things to help me. Like when I said, oh, people were trying to give me compliments, I was like, because the first time somebody gave me a compliment, it turned into something that I didn't even want to happen. And it destroyed me for a large majority of my life. It destroyed me. That's like when people know that abuse is happening to people and they don't say anything. I know people were like, oh, you got to mind your business. You got to mind your business. But especially when it comes to children, you have to say something. You have to. I be saying stuff when it comes to adult, children's, cats, dogs, and I don't have animals. I ain't gonna say I don't like them because I do. I just don't have them. But I don't want anybody to be mistreated. So I'm definitely gonna speak up. A lot of us come from households where it was like, oh, well, they didn't mean to, or that you just making that up. Like, why would they choose you? Like, that's what somebody told me when I told them that I had my innocence stolen. And they were looking at me like, why would they choose you? Hell if I know. I didn't say, hey, look at me, look at my barrettes and my hair, look at my little lace socks. I didn't say any of that. They chose to do that. I began to look at my foundation. I began to say, you know what? I am better than this. There was so many things instilled in me when I was growing up that as I became, like when I got in the teenage years, I don't know, people don't talk about this a lot, right? But I want to say when you are like 10 or 11 to you like now, I'm saying 10 or 11 to like 43, like those are some really trying years. Because now you got peer influences, you got your parents, they're like your number one influencers, then you got your peers, then you got family members, then if depending on what kind of family you grew up in, you got other situations that's happening in your family, and it's like, well, we gonna get him some help, if you know what I'm talking about. We gonna get him some help, and that person never gets help. But then there's stories coming out that he's touched or she's touched more people, because most people don't really talk about women touching people, but they touch people too. And it's a lot of people that are broken or that are hurt, and instead of like acknowledging those hurts, acknowledging that they are broken, they just try to navigate, because we don't want people to judge us. We don't want people to talk about us. We don't want people to know our business. Listen, I'm at a point in my life. Maybe it's because I'm 43. Nah, I think I'm just at a point in my life where if you can understand the concept that they talked about Jesus. I don't know what deity you believe in, but they talked about Jesus. Jesus, the God. They talked about him. They lied on him. They ridiculed him. They did all of that. If they do that to the greatest deity, one of the greatest deity, whatever, however you look at it, how am I any different? I developed this thing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell you about me, and whatever you used, you can't use that against me. You can try. People have tried. People have tried to use the things that I tell them against me, but I'm thinking like, see, what you don't know is that I already dealt with that. I already healed from that. I'm already past that. But thank you for showing me who you are, because I know that if you really cared, you would have never repeated that. You would have never tried to use that against me. A lot of times people take information and try to get the upper hand and be like, oh, well, you ever have a discussion with somebody, or you ever have a disagreement with somebody, and the first thing they go to is the things that you told them in private? I say check your foundation, because a lot of times we only respond or we only react by the things that we have been taught or we have learned. If you saw your parents arguing back and forth all the time, you will become an arguer, or you will not speak at all. You will just let what happened happen. Again, I'm not a therapist, but I have been around the block a couple of times, so I can share my personal experience. Our real life was like, hey, this person did this to me. This is how it happened. This is when it happened. This is where it happened. People started asking me questions, and I'm just looking like I wasn't trying to get. I wasn't. And so in my mind, I was like, y'all don't care anyway. So I'm just gonna stop talking to y'all. I'm gonna stop telling y'all what's going on with me. I'm just gonna be over here, and I'm gonna protect myself. Is what I said. So people will be like, "Oh, you so stubborn," and I said, it dawned on me. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a someone who processes while they speak. Like I'm a talking. I process while I speak. So talk therapy helps me. Um, I was saying how I was stubborn, and I thought, when I said I was stubborn, I thought like I immediately was transported to different situations where I was stubborn. And after, um, time had passed about, with those situations, I had heard, or people came to me and was like, hey, this ever happened to you? And I was like, no, because when this happened, set the boundary and I stood my, I didn't know it was a boundary. I was like, hey, this is not going to happen. I'm not going. I'm not going. It was so many times I was not going. It was so many different things. Like, I love to make sure people are good. I was a people pleaser at that time. So I was doing all kinds of stuff, but I knew when to draw the line. We know when to draw the line. Sometimes in our life, we just be like giving people the benefit of the doubt. But the reality of it is we know when to draw that line. Sometimes we grew up in families where it was just like, hey, whatever happens just happens, and you gonna live and grow. Wait, that happened to me, but look at me, I'm good. If you come from a family like that, go to therapy. And there's nothing wrong with therapy. And there's nothing wrong with therapy. Go to therapy. I think everybody should go to therapy. Sorry, y'all, it got really hot. I think everybody should go to therapy. Maybe once, twice, a couple of times in your life. I say therapy was the greatest thing that happened to me because, again, I'm a talker. And when I didn't have anybody that I can talk to, I just kept everything on the inside. So when I said I had a nervous breakdown, when I turned 18, I had packed away so many things in the back of my mind, and my body was just like, yeah, you're going to either get rid of it or. And I was like, I'm going to get around to it one day. And my body was like, nope, today. And it thumped me. It didn't thump me. But you ever got ready to get up out of the bed and your body was like, nope, we tired, and you couldn't move? Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine where you getting ready to go, you about to say something, but your vocal cords is like, we don't feel like talking, and there's nothing coming out. Imagine that. It took me my stubbornness. It stopped being stubborn. Sometimes it's a blessing and sometimes it's a curse. Being stubborn caused me. It took me getting thumped upside the head a couple of times, and I don't mean like people physically. I meant like life was just like, hey. I should say life tapped me on the shoulder. Life tapped me on the shoulder a couple of times. It was like, hey, we need you to, chill out a little bit. Like take a rest. Just we got it. Um, I would tell people all the time, I don't drink. I don't. I did drink. I have experience as a drinker, but I don't drink. And people say, "Why don't you drink?" And I tell them this story. Right, I'm gonna tell you. Um, I come from a family where alcoholism is prevalent. And so, in my younger years, I would drink alcohol, and I wasn't drinking fruity stuff. Like, I'm a Tennessee whiskey kind of girl. Like, I was like straight, no chaser. Like, that was my thing, right? And then one day, one day, actually, I think it was my cousin's repast. Now that is really crazy. We went over to family house, after a repast. You go to the after set. I don't even want to call it an after set. I don't even know what it is, but you go to the family house. And so we were there, we were eating and drinking and everything, and I was like, well, I'm gonna see y'all later. And my mind said, no, you shouldn't see us later. You should sit down and just wait a little bit. And I was like, no, I gotta get home because I gotta sleep in my own bed. I gotta do all these things. We be going through our mind, telling ourselves we could do it. So I knew that I was highly intoxicated. That's so wild when you like say it out loud. Um, I got in my car and I started to drive. I didn't no accident or anything. What happened to me that terrified me? Um, I was driving. And I hope you haven't had this experience. I pulled up to the light and it seemed like I had just closed my eyes for a second. That's what it seemed like, just a second. I was asleep at the light. And when I woke up, I immediately pulled over and I was wailing Cause I said to myself, I could have killed somebody. I could have killed myself. It's so many different things could have happened, and then I wasn't fully there. And this is not an excuse, but I wasn't fully there, cause I said, if you let me, I wasn't too far from my house, so I was like, if you let me make it to my house, I promise I will never, ever, ever. And that was like decades ago, so I've never ever. And I just said to myself, checking your foundation and knowing that alcoholism for me, is prevalent in many generations of my family. I don't deal with alcohol. I don't. It's like when you come from a family, like there's addictive personalities, or there's some things you just don't do. So I just don't do it. And then even in that, whenever I like go out and people's like, oh, I just only had, it's a no for me. I would either make sure that I always drive or be the designated driver, or I take my own vehicle, because I am not um, putting my life in someone else's hands. I won't even do it. That's like, if y'all remember a couple of years ago, the pilots were flying drunk, and it was like, wait, you're flying a plane. Granted, you're not on the ground, but you're flying a plane, and it's a no for me. So when it comes to alcohol, it's a no for me. And that definitely solidified no. And then I became like a spokesperson as to why you don't drink and drive. And I say that there was no accident, there was anything. It just terrified me to think of what could have happened. So it's a no for me. And it was, as I looked back, I slowly started to see when my life was like, you need more discipline. You need more discipline when it comes to this. Because I'm pretty sure we all know somebody who drink or get high. I remember my first commercial, the first commercial I saw, where they said they showed the person getting high or whatever, and they pulled them over, and it's like, they gave them a ticket or whatever for driving while high. I don't even know if they gave them a ticket, but I saw the commercial, right? And I thought to myself, how many people do I know that drive high, that drive intoxicated, whether it be on alcohol or whatever? How many people do we know like that? And I started to think, and I was just like, if we could form like sister circles, brother circles, or like community things where people can just come and like share, like safe spaces. I say therapy, but maybe people just need like brunch conversations or something. I don't know. Maybe if more people felt safe talking about the things that happened to them, maybe if we weren't so pressed about people judging us when, wait, let me give a little dose of reality. I don't know if y'all know this, but people are going to judge you. We are judged every day. I want to say more than 20 times a day we are judged, whether it's by the people that's come into our lives, or the people go to the store, pay our bills, student loan people, because them people be thinking you rich, because they be calling and be like, we get judged every day. You get judged every day. And no, it don't feel great. It doesn't sometimes. However, at the same time, the most important person that you want to love you is you. And I wanted to talk about checking the foundation, because a lot of times we grow up in situations where we're not taught to love ourselves. We're taught to love our parents. We're taught to love our brothers and sisters, our grandmothers, our cousins. We're taught to love everyone else. But think about it, right? When were you taught to love yourself? When were you taught that? When were you taught to take care of yourself? Yeah, they taught us how to brush our teeth and wash our face and comb your hair and wash your clothes. Yeah, they taught that. That's taking care of yourself. But when were you taught to actually take care of yourself? When was the last time you took a nap or a walk or just sat and did nothing? As I said that, you're probably like, I got too much stuff to do because I can't. But if you actually think about it, right? This year, for the last 3 years, I did a 40, 41, 42, 43. Wait, that's a lot of years. That's a lot of different streams. Anyways, this year I did a 43-hour stream, and I was doing the streams just to be like, um, you know, working on different things just to see if I could do it, pushing myself to see if I could do it. But this year, I sat in those streams and I started to really evaluate myself, and I realized how much discipline I had. I realized how much discipline I had. I realized how much structure I have gained. I realized how much stability I've had. I realized how impactful I am when it comes to. I knew it was a fly in here. I heard it. Sorry, y'all. I realized how impactful um, my words were, my presentations were, and I was like, you know what? I want to be a beacon of light. I want to be a beacon of light, love, positivity, and hope. That's what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to do that for music artists. I want to do that for you. I want to do that for myself. That's just what I want to be. And I'm looking at the world. I'm like, so much shit is going on out in this world, but who's being that space? Like who's offering that space? I wish like there would be more men circles. And I'm saying men circles where men just come together and they just talk and be free to talk and don't have to worry about being judged or people down talking them. And not just men, but women also. Single parents. I wish it was like last year, I had a major surgery, and when you go to the doctor, they're like, oh yeah, 6 to 8 weeks, you'll be fine. And so it was after them 6 to 8 weeks, and I was like, I'm not fine. And I was like, I need to talk to somebody, I need to figure out. So I had started reaching out to my, foundation, my community, and I was like, hey, has anybody had this surgery? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, please tell me, when do I get better? When do I be okay? And they were like, truthfully, it's going to take anywhere from 1 to 2 years. And I was like, oh, I didn't sign up for that. I thought it was just going to be 6 to 8 weeks. Because let me tell y'all, my body, I got real good at listening to my body. My body was telling me that I was not okay. And me being the person I had to, I was going. I had to do. I can't just sit down and be still. I was going and doing and wasn't sitting down and be still. And the lady was like, hey, you can get a hernia. And then I started researching hernia, and I was like, oh, I don't want that. But if I have to sit down and be still, what am I going to do? Because I've never done that before. I never just sat down and be still. And you're probably like, how you never sat down? Because I was always ripping and running and making sure this person had. I was everywhere, all times, just doing the damn thing. And so I started playing Call of Duty Mobile. I became a pretty good gamer. I pivoted my business. Scored a documentary. Like I did so many things. And as I'm for this 43 hours live stream, as I'm sitting here and I'm dedicating all 43 hours to me, I got so much stuff done. So much stuff done. I mapped out, I did a wireframe for my platform, what I wanted to look like. I did the research on what I need to bring it to life. Like I had so much time, and I was like, why am I just dedicating 43 hours to myself? Like I could do more than that, I could do more than that. And then the more I started to just focus on me and the things that I love and the things that I wanted to do, it was just like I found peace. I found a peace that I can't even put into words other than the word peace. Because the peace that I have right now, I would rather just sit in this chair and look at this camera for the rest of my life kind of peace. I don't want anybody to come and then when you think about your upbringing, or you think about the community you surround yourself with, or you think about You think about yourself. You think about the things you wanted to do in life, but you didn't. And you think about why you didn't do that. When you really start to pay attention to yourself and you start to understand yourself, life will make so much more sense. I started to say, um, people would tell me, like, hurt people. And like, people say that all the time. And I just, like, I could not, I, I could not understand the analogy of that. Because in my mind, it's like, okay, I'm hurt. I don't want you to be hurt. I don't want you to feel the feeling that I am feeling. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, hey, or I'm going to suggest things that you could do. Like, that's me. But it's so normalized to be like, oh, girl, hurt people all the time. And then I'm just sitting here looking like, but when do people get healed or help from the hurt? When do we acknowledge the hurt? When do we resolve it? When how do we deal with it? Like, what do we do? And so I'm sitting over here thinking about that, and I was just like, a lot of people grow up in situations where there was no therapy. There is no chastisement. There is no discipline. Like, people can treat you however they want to treat you, and you just accept it. Your grandma could slap you in your face and tell you to be quiet, and because she's your grandma. When in reality, a lot of things shouldn't be taking place, but it is. And I feel like, me personally, it's 2023. And if you haven't found the courage to stand up for yourself, take the next 24 hours and find it. How do you find it? Go within. If you know, we all be knowing when people be ripping us off. We all be knowing when people be doing us dirty. We all know. And sometimes, again, we like to give people the benefit of the doubt. We don't want to hurt their feelings. I feel like in 2023, if you not getting your feelings hurt, you're not learning. You're not growing. I don't know. I say you got to get your feelings hurt to learn and grow. But what I'm saying is, if you have been doing the same thing for 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, and there's no greater results, oh, I'm gonna get that new Tesla, and you ain't win a test drive a Tesla. You don't know the specifics, whatever the word is, of a Tesla. You don't have your license. You don't have insurance. You don't even know how to drive. How are you going to get a Tesla? You want to buy a house, but you ain't taking a home buying course. You don't know mortgages. You don't know. You don't even pay your rent on time. Like, but how are you gonna get a house? A lot of times people just be hoping, praying, and wishing for things, and it's just like, you don't even have the foundational things together. Like, right now, I'm a music administrator, and I work with music artists to help them understand the foundational things like copyright, trademark, registering your music, meta tagging your music. Cause that's how you get the money. Yeah, people be like, yeah, I'm gonna go do these shows, I'm gonna go on tour. You're gonna get pennies and nickels compared to what you are entitled to. And then we always wonder, like, they ask me, um, uh, when you go to these different accelerators and things, and it's like, well, what's your why? And I told them, my why is because I'm 43 years old, and I want to make sure that the people that's coming behind me, and even some of the legends, are able to get the money that they deserve for their music. How am I 43 and there's no major black record label? There's no major black distribution company. How? I'm 43. How? And before you say it, oh, there was Bad Boy, there's Young Money, Cash Money, there's all of these people are subsidiaries of the major ones, which are predominantly white. How come nobody was like, hey, we gonna set this up for us? And that's another shit. We gotta check our foundation. We gotta check our foundations. If you are a parent, it is important for you to check your foundation, because you ever have them moments like, when I have kids, I'm never gonna do that to my kids. And then you don't do that to your kids, and you realize your kids are out here kid boys, or doing whatever they're doing, and that's not the stereotype people. That's like to be like, yeah, I remember punishments. I remember allowance. I remember like doing things. Like my mom taught us to be productive citizens in society. Did we agree with what she was teaching? No. But we listened and we paid attention so that as we are adults, we understand. You understand and you know. You don't have to. Not every action deserves a response. I was telling somebody this. I said, when I was growing up, they used to say, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say nothing at all. It wasn't until I got into my 40s that I truly understood what that meant. Because, people don't be having good things to say, but they still be saying bad things or speaking negatively over people's lives. I don't want to say anything. Nothing. In most cases, I say, I love you and wish the best for you. And I truly mean that. Because I love everybody and wish the best for them. Especially given that we are currently surviving a global fucking pandemic. We don't talk about it much. It's not talked about as much. Because, they focusing on other things. But the reality of it is that any time the government can say, "Ooh, we going to shut down again." I remember a couple of weeks ago when they were like, hey, the wildfires from Canada, the smoke is coming to Wisconsin. And so I was like, that's strange because I saw in New York, if you go look, some of the places in New York still have smoke. And our smoke only lasted from Monday through Thursday. And you're like, how you know that? Because I was watching and paying attention. That's why when I get ready to wrap up, I'd be like, you got to pay attention to the news, not just local news. You got to pay attention to world news, political news, financial news. Have y'all seen the latest financial news? You got to pay attention to everything. Genetically modified foods. It's so many different things you got to pay attention to. But if you're just somebody that's just like go with the flow, oh, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna roll with the tide. They're gonna roll right over you, and you're gonna be sitting there like, well, I didn't even know that. If you somebody that just go off of what your grandparents or what your mama, and I'm not saying be disrespectful or rude, but what I'm saying is, if it worked for them, a lot of people be like, oh, it worked for them, so it's going to work for me. We are all different people, and some people aren't ready to take that challenge of doing something opposite of what their family done. Every year, everybody's family is like, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to be a millionaire. And then you look at the family tree, and it's like, there's no millionaires. It's not like the talent doesn't exist because we are some talented people. It's just nobody cultivated the talent and nobody made it a business. Nobody cultivated, built it up. Nobody did that. Why? Because I can't build you up because then you're going to surprise me but we shouldn't think like that. I say check your foundation because a lot of times the way you think, the way you move, the things you say, all of that comes from how you were raised, the environment in which you were raised in. I know a lot of people who have never made it off of the corner. And I don't mean like out there standing, doing that, but I mean people who have never been outside of their neighborhoods. I done been outside the neighborhood, the country. I done been a lot of places. And that's why I'm grateful for my mother because her sending me to chapter 220 schools opened me up to a wide variety of things. I've had opportunities up the wazoo, not just from going to predominantly white schools, but because I'm a really intelligent person. I'm highly intelligent. And I say highly because sometimes we need to talk about ourselves like that. Somebody said you should be humble. And I said, have you ever looked up the definition of humble? Like, do you know what it actually means? I survived a global fucking pandemic. Humble is nowhere in my vocabulary. It's a no. People ask me, I went to do a judge a beat battle today. And they're like, who are you? What are you doing? I was like, I'm the greatest music administrator this side of heaven. And they looked at me like, wait, what? Let me get your information. Of course. Of course you can. We'll work together. You're going to pay me, I'm going to make sure you good. So that's how we doing it out here. You got to say you are the baddest, whatever it is. And if you don't want to use baddest, just say you are the most intelligent. You are the greatest. The greatest podcaster ever. I'm the greatest conversationalist. I can have a conversation with literally anybody. My brothers call me a great debater. I don't try to debate, I just be asking questions. I just want to know. And I'm okay if you don't want to answer the questions. I just be want to ask. And sometimes I feel like if more people ask us questions as to why we do things, we wouldn't do a lot of things. If if people say, "Hey, um, I thought you said you wanted to start a trucking business, but why are you still working in banking?" Oh, cause it takes money to get that. There's a lot of resources out here. Don't worry, cause I'm gonna be sharing them with y'all. But there's a lot of resources out here that we don't take advantage of. Number one, because a lot of us don't know that they exist, and number two, we are kept away from them. We don't read up on them. We don't do anything that could help us get in them situations. Y'all remember when everybody was filling out them PPP loans? I remember scrolling the other day and people was like, "Man, I wish I would have filled out one." It's a no for me. I'll write a grant in a minute. I used to tell people, they was like, "How did you get that much money for, going to college?" And I was like, because I would find essays. Like, all you need is a 200, 300 word essays. English is that's my subject. That's my subject. I could write all day. I could talk all day. I could write all day. So I just did what I needed to do, and they would just give it to me. And like now I'm working on writing grants or filling out when you fill out for grants. There's like lengthy these grant applications are lengthy, and they want to know the in depth. They want to know like y to the 15th power. They want to know everything. You got to have your financials in order. You got to have everything. And for me, it's like, yeah, I'm getting all of this together. I'm getting all of this together because I'm gonna be applying for more grants. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll be a grant writer. What kind of am a grant writer? But maybe for other people I'll be a grant writer. But it's just like it's important for us to check our foundation. I'm wrapping up in case y'all didn't know. It's important for us to check our foundations and make sure that it is sturdy. If your parents were shaky, if your parents didn't tell you that they love you, if they didn't hug you, if they didn't encourage love and support, I'm gonna tell you, my niece and nephew, the youngest two, um, they have such a wonderful relationship. And I was just telling their dad, I was like, I really hope that they keep that. I hope that as they grow older, they continue to love each other the way that they do. And their mom sent me a video when they were like little babies. Oh, they were so cute. And he was kissing her and she was crying. He was kissing her. He was like, "It's okay, Nani. It's okay." And I was like, oh my God, that is the cutest thing. I hope that as she get older, when things happen to her, that he's still there to tell her that it's okay. How many times have somebody told you that it is okay? Like, it's little things like that for me. It's like if you come from a family where you didn't have that, and then you are introduced to a family or introduced to people who are providing you with that. I know it will raise a lot of anxiety because it's like, these people is weird, why are they doing that? But the reality of it is we be praying for shit all day, every day. And I just put shit in the word with prayer, in the same sentence as prayer. Anyways, we be asking whatever deity it is for things all the time. All the time we be asking. We want that guy, the girl, the car. We want the business. We want to be famous. We want to be rich. We be asking for all of those things. And here's something that I came to realize. You can ask your deity for $1,000,000, but if you don't know how to budget your money, you will be broke. If you don't have the discipline not to spend your money, you will be broke. If you don't know how to properly maintain the finances, the banking account, if you don't know how to write a check, if you don't know how to determine profits and loss, assets and liability, if you don't know how to do all of that, your $1,000,000 will be gone. I said one time, I remember when I was growing up, I always worked hard for anything that I've ever got. Like, I've worked hard. And then I realized the difference between when someone gives me something and when I work hard for it. When somebody gives me something, I value it. I don't value it as much as when I work hard for it. Because when you work hard for it, you remember how hard it was to get those essays turned in. You remember how hard it was to get ink for your printer. Like, you remember those things. You remember. And that's why I keep saying check your foundation, because you remember. You remember when you were little. I remember I heard this one lady, she said, oh, I stayed because of the kids. And then they interviewed her kids and they was like, we didn't want her to stay with him. Or we didn't want them to stay together. But a lot of times, you're a parent, you probably watching this and saying, oh, I'm only saying because of the kids. I don't want them to not have a 2-parent household. Listen, the reality of it is they probably won't have a 2-parent household. So either you're going to co-parent, either you're going to make sure that your kids are good, you're going to hug them, love up on them. I'm going to keep saying this as long as I have breath in my body. If you are a parent, love your child, hug on them, kiss them, tell them how beautiful they are, tell them how handsome they are, tell them how much they mean to you. Tell them all that. We'll quickly say, I hate you. I hate you, look just like your dad. We'll quickly say all of those things, but tell them how much you love, appreciate, and respect them. And I say that because if you don't, somebody else will. And the person that will is not somebody you want to be around them. Check your foundation. Check the thing you build in your house. So imagine building a really immaculate building, but it's built up on quicksand. It's not gonna stand. If your foundation is shaky, it's got cracks it's not gonna stand. It may look good. But it's not gonna stand. You want to start a YouTube, but you're like, oh, I need the lights, I need the microphone, I need all of this. Listen, I did all of this stuff with my iPhone 8. I just got an iPhone 13 like last year. I was doing all of these videos, podcasts, and stuff with my iPhone 8. And I got a $20 mic off of Amazon, a lapel mic off of Amazon. I was doing it that way. You don't have to have all of those things. You can literally just take your phone out. You want to start a podcast? Download Spotify for podcasts. And you can literally record your podcast right into your phone, edit it, create the cover for it, and upload it. Boom, you already got your first podcast. I wanted to do integrate video with my podcast, and then I was like, you know what, let me see how this is going to work. It's not I don't have the background, I don't have everything that I want, but guess what I'm going to do? You guys will be on the journey. You'll see where I first started with Sunday Night Dinner and Convo, and now I'm here at Nurturing Conversations, and we're going to only get bigger and better. Because that's what I'm striving for. That's what I'm working towards, being bigger and better. That's all I got. This has been a Nurturing Conversations podcast. Tonight's topic was check your foundations. Check your upbringing. Check those experiences that you had that's like definitely determining how you react or respond to things right now. Check it all out. Also, remember that it is important for you to use your words. That is the only way that anyone will ever know what you are feeling or what you are thinking. I will never let a live video, vlog, podcast, short, anything that I present to you go out without me telling you to love yourself. This includes your faults, your fears, and your failures. Know yourself, Trust yourself, whether it is the hairs on the back of your neck, the goosebumps you get, the feeling you get in the pit of your stomach, the loud or the small voice, or your first mind. Whatever it is, trust it, because it will not lead you wrong. If you haven't been paying attention to the news, you most definitely should, and not just your local news. Do you know that there's a lot of people that didn't even know that there was a train derailment in Ohio? Yeah, a lot of people didn't even know there was forest fires in Canada. You got to start watching the news. And I know the news will be like this, but sometimes you have to be able to be aware or be knowledgeable of the things that are happening in the world. I don't know if I said it, but I'm going to say it again. Make sure you get your toiletries, non-perishable food items, water, disinfectant, set some cash money, and some coins to the side. I forgot. Most importantly, be yourself. Um, anyone, anyone that cannot love, respect, or appreciate you for being authentically you does not deserve to be in your space. You have survived a global fucking pandemic. Set boundaries. Understand boundaries, set them, and send 10 toes down on them. 10 toes down. If you are an adult, now every time I end a live or a video, I'd say this. If you are an adult, especially in the area of Texas, I really want you to be okay. If you are an adult, if you're not an adult, but you're engaging in adult activities, have y'all seen the syphilis rate in Texas? I didn't see which part of Texas, so I'm going to say the syphilis rate in Texas. Google it. It's at 128%, and a lot of the people who are coming up with it is women. So, take care of yourself. Protect yourself. Protect yourself. Protect yourself. You definitely have to protect yourself, because whether you realize it or not, what affects you affects the people around you. So take care of yourself. I be saying all the time about the STD rates rising. Take care of yourself. If you don't go to the doctor, if you have to schedule a mammogram, do that, because I have to schedule a mammogram. So mammograms, I'll tell you all about my experience with that too at a later time. If you don't go to the doctor, go. If you don't go to the dentist, go. If you don't go to the eye doctor, go. The podiatrist. If you don't be seen by a physician, go be seen. Take care of yourself. We all we got. That's all I got. Remember that I love you. Until next time, peace.